Dear learners, welcome back to Java interview preparation series. And in this video, right, we are going to discuss about the list interface. So this is the one of the collection concept in Java. So nowadays, right, in an interview, they ask us to explain the syntax of the list, and also they are asking like why we are using the list or how to use the list. Okay, so I told like a list is nothing but it belongs to the collection concept. So what is meant by collection? So primarily the collection is used to store a multiple values. So whenever we are planning to store a multiple values, right? So we always use the collection interface in Java. And in the collection interface, right, we are having three types. So one is of a list, set, and map. And in this video, I'm just going to explain only about the list. And as I told, we are always use the collection concept to store a multiple values. That's fine. But we already have an array, right? In a Java, we are having the array concept. So even in an array, we are going to store a multiple values. But why we are jumping to the collection? The reason is like in an array, the size is fixed. So always the size is fixed. Size means which is nothing but we can't add a new value inside an array. But whenever we use the collection concept, right, during runtime, we can add a multiple values. Okay, so during the runtime, right, we can add a multiple values. So even if we try to store a 100 value, yes, it will allow us to store. So for which we always use the collection. And in which the first interface which we are going to discuss is like the list interface. So what is the need of the list? So as I told, I'm going to add a multiple values, and in order to add a multiple values, I'm just going to use the class called as an array list. Okay, this array list, right, which is nothing but it is kind of an resizable array. So which means we can keep on adding the multiple values. And generally, right, I have already discussed like for an interface, right, we can't create an object. And whenever we need to use the interface, we need to implement the interface only with the help of the class. And here we are having the class called as an array list. And how we can implement in the sense, for example, I can say, so this is a list which is an interface. Let me give some variable name and I can implement only with the help of the class. Okay, so this is how like we always implement the interface, or else like you can directly create an object for the class. I can create like array list. I can give some variable name is equal to new of array list. Okay, so now in the array list we can add a multiple values. And how we can add a multiple values in the sense only with the help of the add method. So with the help of the add method we can add a multiple values. The multiple values in the sense, so it will be like kind of an integer or it will be a string values, etc. So for which like we need to always define a type. So whenever we are creating the list, right, so the first step we need to define the type. So I should add the lesser than and greater than symbol where I need to define the type. So for example, in this array list, right, if I'm planning to store only the numerical value, then I can define the type as an integer. In case if I'm planning to store only the string value, then I can change the type to the string, and which will allow us to like add only the string values. And whenever we are using this list interface, right, it will allow us to store a duplicate value. So we can keep on storing the duplicate value. So for example, let me just open the IntelliJ and let me create the object for the array list. So let it be array list. Let me give some variable name, and before that like we need to define the type. So let's say I'm just going to store an integer type, and let me give the variable name as al is equal to new of array list. Okay, now how I am going to add multiple values inside the array list? So as I told, we are having the method called as an add. So what is the variable name of the array list? It is al, and if I say al dot, it is going to list down the methods, and in which, right, I'm going to use the method called as an add. And with the help of the add method, right, I can keep on adding the multiple values. And whenever we add the multiple values, right, the size will grow automatically. Now, for example, like I have tried to add a three values, and let me try to print the statement, and let's see so how the output look like. Okay, so now I'm just right clicking and I'm just running this program. And one advantage of using ArrayList is like it always maintain the insertion order. Okay, so it always maintain the insertion order as it is maintaining the insertion order, right? So we can get the needed value with the help of the intets. And how we can retrieve the needed value in the sense with the help of the get method. Okay, and inside the get method, so we can pass the intets and we can retrieve something with the help of the intets. Now if you look over the output, right, it says 45, 67, 89. Okay, we have added in this way, and even the output is in the similar way because it is maintaining the insertion order. And whenever I try to add a new value, right, so it will always add at the last intets. Okay, and given, like, is it possible, like you may have the questions, so is it possible to add a value intet specific? So even that is possible. Okay, so whenever you are using the add method, it always use the it will always add the value at the last intets. But if I planning to inject in any of the specific intets, right, so for example I need to inject this 90 and the first intets, then what I can say, I can say 1 comma 90. So which means 1 indicates the index and 90 indicates the element, which is nothing but the value which we are going to add. And if I just try to rerun the program, right, now the 90 will be stored in the first index. And similar to that, if I want to get any value based upon the index, I can get the value. So let me just add as a sort statement. And what is the method we need to use? So what is the variable name? It is AL, and there is a method called as a get method. Okay, and in which, right, I can pass the index. And if I say index is 3, so what it is present in the third index, obviously it is 89. So the reason is like the index always starts from the 0. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, and 89 is present in the third index, and we are able to get the value based upon the index. And as I told, it will allow us to store a duplicate value. So now for example, if I say al.add, and if I'm trying to add this 90 one more time, and if I try to run this program, right, so it will store the 90 twice. If you notice, it is storing in the first index, and also here we haven't specified any index. So what happened? It will always add the new value at the last index. So now the 90 is stored twice. So which means the list will allow us to store the duplicate value. And other thing is like the list will maintain the insertion order. As it is maintaining the insertion order, right, so we can use the get method, and with the help of the get method, right, we can retrieve the specific value. And in this list, like I'm just storing the integer value. In similar way, I can create like one more list, and if I just specify the type as a string, right, inside which I can store only the string value. Now in the above case, right, so instead of this 45, if I try to store any of the string value like ABC, it will throw the error immediately. It says the required type is integer, but we have provided the string. Okay, so whenever you are providing the type, right, so we should add the value similar to the respective type. Now let me just give some variable name is equal to new of array list. So which means now whenever I say al1 dot add, right, so in which I can store only the string value. Okay, so I can say it is of an ABC. Likewise, I can keep on adding the multiple values. And another advantage is like, so whenever we are using the list, right, so we can store the value in any of the intents. And for example, if you want to like add a new value at the beginning of the intents, right, so even we are having one another method. So for example, if I say al dot add, okay, you could able to see, so there is some method called as an add first. So whenever I say add first, and if I inject like something called as an LMTI, okay, and if I try to like print the statement, right, so al1, now the new value will be always add at the first index. So similar to that, like we can always add the new value at the last index by using the method called as an al dot, okay, add last, and here let me say let it be of an xyz, and if I try to run the program, right, so the new value will be add at the last index. Okay, so now if I want to remove something, so even we can able to do, I can say al dot remove. So what we want to remove? So either you want to remove the remove the specific element. So either we can provide the value or even we can provide the index. So for example, if I say index as one, right? Okay, and if I try to add one more sysout statement, and if I print this al1, and if I try to run the program, right? So what happened? It will remove the value which is present in the first index. What is present? ABC. Now the AB is removed. Now the value is like LMTI XYZ. Okay, so primarily, so the list, the array list is used to store multiple values. So the list is nothing but it's an interface, and in order to implement this interface, so either like we can implement with the help of the class, or else like you can straight away create the object for the respective class. And even here, right, instead of the array list, and if I try to use the list, it will work. Okay, and if I try to run the program, so we will be getting an output. So the reason is like, so the list is an interface. Okay, and we are implementing with the help of the array list class. Okay, so even you can write the syntax in such a way, or else you can straight away create an object for the respective class. And the key point like we should remember here is like, so the list will allow us to store a duplicate values, and other key differences like it always maintain the injection order. And how we are adding the new values? Only with the help of the add method. And whenever we are using the add method, right, so it will add the new values inside the respective list, and the size will grow automatically. Okay, and we can discuss a few programs related to the list in the upcoming videos. And just keep supporting my channel, and whenever you're having some doubts, right, so feel free to use the comment section, so I will be responding in the comment section. And thank you all.